All right, this is part 4 of the Thanksgiving tips for chronic pain and chronic illness. The thank you was for some coffee. I just got brought a coffee drink, which is awesome. So in this part, we're going to talk about desserts. I did mention them a little bit in the first 3 parts. And again, don't forget, if you are watching this on IGTV, click the little TV with the squiggles so you can see past the first minute of this. So some of the previous tips were plan and organize everything well and ahead of time. So do your menu, then your recipes, then your shopping list, then organize when you come home, plan your time between recipes, rest, and all of that. Schedule your time out. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. We had a delivery, so hopefully they're done barking. All right, so we talked about prepping ahead. We talked about making a list of everything you need to do with oven temperatures, times, a timer with a few events, as this one calls it. We talked about the turkey. We talked about expectations with desserts and how you can kind of change those around a little bit. This video will be a lot about desserts and then a few things that I didn't mention earlier. So, and again, this is why you need to plan everything out and write everything down. I did not do that yet for the next few days, so I forgot to mention another appetizer that I'm making, which is bacon wrapped water chestnuts. It was kind of big in the 60s, I think, but it sounded kind of good, and it's no carbs, so I thought we could do that. And it's obviously gluten-free and dairy-free. Not vegan, though. We talked about that already. We're not having a completely vegan Thanksgiving, but a lot of it will be. So this is also something that I didn't mention as much earlier. I did talk about the foil pans, but I did not mention these bags that I found at the store. So these are liners. This is for a crock pot or a slow cooker. This is for the oven. So these are things that you might be able to utilize also when you're cooking Thanksgiving. In a slow cooker, you could even do your turkey if you wanted to. I know some people do that, but what I'm going to use this for is after Thanksgiving, when I'm using the leftovers to make a turkey chili that I mentioned before, I will use these. Do not make the mistake to put a slow cooker liner in the oven. You do not want to do that because the temperature of a slow cooker is about 105, 125, maybe 150, and your oven obviously is a lot hotter than that. So do not use these in an oven. That's what these guys are for. So these are oven bags. They do say turkey size. Says that it fits 8 to 24 pound turkey. They're 19 inches by 23.5 inches. So these also have instructions on them, so be sure to read those if you are going to use this. This particular brand says do not exceed 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and they also say that you need to add a tablespoon of flour to the bag and shake it to keep the bag from bursting when the steam starts to rise. So just make sure if you do want to utilize these, you read the instructions and all the warnings that they have on them. But you could certainly use this to cook your turkey in. I probably will not use this for that because I have the foil pans I talked about that I'll just throw out when I'm done, so I don't have anything to clean. But these might come in handy if you have chronic illness or chronic pain. It will make your cleanup easier. What it will make more difficult, though, is getting the juices out of the bag to make your gravy. And if you're like me and you have to get every last drop out because wasting something is not something that you would ever do, these you might not want to use. But they are an option. They will make cleanup a lot easier. And again, just remember to read the instructions and the warnings on the back of these. Okay, desserts. So we talked about pecan pie. I'm going to make pecan pie bars this year, not a full pie plate. And if you didn't get to see that part of the video yet, the biggest reason for that, imagine these are 9-inch pie plates, right? Trying to fit these in the fridge with a pie, like an apple pie that's rounded on top, a pecan pie that you don't want to get smushed, a chocolate pie that you definitely don't want to get smushed. And then you have these edges here of pie pans that stick out, so that takes away some space that you would be able to use in your fridge. Instead, I'm going to do dessert bars for the most part, or cakes, and they will go in here, much easier to stack in the fridge, next to each other and on top of each other. They came with folded lids, and if I'm not confident that that lid is going to be strong enough, I'll just put a baking dish or a pan. Cookie sheet over the top, and then that will kind of add some stability. So There's one thing that I forgot to mention that I'm making, and that's a lemon cake. I've done lemon bars in the past. Cakes are really, honestly, just easier, so I'll be making that. I like lemon for dessert because it kind of, it's kind of refreshing and it's not heavy. So again, with your desserts, you do have some options. Yes, there is an expectation from a lot of people that it's going to be pies, pumpkin, pecan, apple, mincemeat, sweet potato, whatever. But you can change that up to make it easier on yourself and kind of, not have to worry about your pie crust coming out flaky and perfect, and you have the right amount of ice in your ice water, and the butter is cold enough, and all of that stuff, rolling it out. There's just so much that goes into a pie crust, and I'd rather not worry about that. So like I mentioned in a previous video, we did talk right now about the lemon cake. We talked about the pecan pie bars. Instead of an apple pie, I'm going to make apple crumble. So basically you just make the filling that you would put in a pie. You put it in a dish and you cover the top with like oatmeal, some cinnamon, spice. You can nutmeg, allspice, a little salt. You can throw some nuts in there, pecans, walnuts, almonds, whatever you have. Some butter, and then you just bake it off. And then it's a lot easier to deal with than some pie crust. As far as pumpkin pie, same deal, even though there's not a top crust like with apple pie. What we're going to do is pumpkin cheesecake bars that will be vegan and gluten-free, so they will be a lot easier to deal with and still get that pumpkin on the menu. Instead of a chocolate pie, I'm going to make chocolate cake. Again, it's just an easier thing to do, and the flavor is still there. There's a fruit salad that my grandmother has always made for as long as I can remember. I'm making that. It's kind of served with dinner, but a lot of people have it afterwards. And it does have whipped cream kind of holding it together, but I'm making that vegan as well. So this is a simple option you can make for a dessert. It's grapes, mandarin oranges. I'm going to add some pineapple this year, though I don't think that was in the original. Apples. Did I say bananas? I don't remember. And you can put some nuts in there, and then you mix it all with whipped cream, but you need to let the fruit kind of drain the night before. Probably should do a video on it if anybody is even interested in replicating it, because there is quite a bit to it. But okay, so some issues that I ran into. We talked already about the dips and trying to make those vegan in part 3, and I'm going to make sour cream out of tofu for one of them, and a cashew cream, which will substitute for sour cream for another one. Another issue I ran into is finding gluten-free, dairy-free graham cracker crumbs. I did find some online, but I thought before I went shopping that I'll just buy the gluten-free, dairy-free crackers and grind them up myself. And then I thought, well, if I can make it easier on myself, let's try to do that. But they won't get here in time. So these are from Walmart. They're gluten-free, dairy-free, very good. We have had them before. They're also egg-free. And just going to grind these up and use these with some butter for my crust and some of my desserts. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to mention that I didn't hit on in the other videos. We talked about appetizers, dips, snacks for the beginning of the day. Again, tahini or hummus is a really easy one to make. Check out part 3 if you didn't see that, and you can find easy recipes online for that. Another thing I want to talk about is these spices. Pumpkin pie spice and poultry spice. It is a mix of spices. Whereas, like, for example, this is just ginger. The pumpkin pie spice has cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and cloves. All of that in it. Poultry spice, which a lot of people use only once a year, is thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary, black pepper, and nutmeg. To me, if I need cinnamon during the year and I only need like a quarter, half teaspoon, I can just use this. To me, I like all those flavors, and if they mix together in the same thing, I'm okay with that. Same thing with this. It's just a tip you might want to try, see if anybody notices the difference in the cooking. But all right, let me just look. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. If you do want to try gluten-free, one of the biggest issues is flours. And these are 2 that I have used that I like for baking. This one is from Walmart. It's all-purpose flour that's gluten-free. This one is by Bob's Red Mill. It's 1-to-1 baking flour. So not only do I have these in the house, I have these also. This is white rice flour. This is brown rice flour. The reason that I like these first ones a lot better is because if you look on the ingredients on the back, there are several different kinds of flours in there. There's also tapioca starch, and there's also xanthan gum. So xanthan gum kind of replaces gluten in gluten-free recipes, whereas these flours, they don't have that. So this way I have what I need all in one. It's already pre-mixed. They know how much xanthan gum to go in it. I don't need to worry about it. Whereas if I use this to bake, I would have to figure that out myself, buy the xanthan gum separately. And you can't just buy like a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum for the most part. You have to buy quite a bit. So these are gluten-free flours that I trust and I have used a lot. If you're looking for one, there you go. If anybody has any questions about Thanksgiving or anything that I've covered, please let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching. This is Ginger, the Pain Warrior Princess with Pain Warrior USA. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you have chronic illness and chronic pain, make sure to rest while you're cooking. Don't stay up the night before like I have. And have a great Thanksgiving.